Hey Pug, it's Kat. I know it's been a minute. I was gonna try to do part 2 of a video, but it looks like it did not record, so let's start over. By the way, this is now the 4th of November 2024. It's early in the morning. It's 1 minute before 3 a.m. and I'm just chilling. I want to read some definitions to you on something I heard today at church. I was online, I'm an e-member of this church in Los Angeles called Crenshaw Christian Center. I almost said Crenshaw Christian Ventures. No, it's a center, but it's a church. You might be aware of it as the Faith Dome or ever increasing faith ministries. You might have seen the TV broadcast where the theme song was Evidence. Evidence. Do you know there's evidence? Anyway, I won't sing it. I don't know all the lyrics anyway. But I definitely remember that, though. In fact, if they still have them and I get the cash, I'm getting a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a hat, a jacket. I'm getting all those logos, man. I'm getting especially the one that says evidence, Anyway. So this is first Sunday service, or technically yesterday. And it's, we call it the Super Sunday because we do all kinds of stuff. There's praise and worship, and there's the sermon message, and then there's baby dedications, and there's, the giving and donations, and there's communion, and there's, healing service. There's all kinds of stuff today. And then, announcements and welcoming visitors and, all that stuff. And if there are words from people who have a gift, if they have a message to give at that time, ones who have been proven and tested, invested in whatever, according to the ministry staff, then they can come forward. They come and stand by they stand up, or they, stand by one of the ushers, or, one of the assistants. So this happened today. There were 2 people that spoke. The first was a lady, second was a man. The first lady spoke in tongues first. They did it in order. Everything has to be done decently and in order. She gave the tongues. And there was someone who, usually there's either somebody else who can interpret the tongues, or God will give you the interpretation of the tongues. She got the interpretation directly from the Lord herself. And it was a call to people who have gifts, particularly seers, prophets, gatekeepers, people who intercede, people who are prayer warriors, etc., particularly, and also people who are vanguards. So she gave a word to this group of people. Before she gave that word, she said, if you are any of those things, or you think you might be one of those things, stand up. Here, and anyone watching online on a broadcast, no matter the time or date that you watch it, I would say, and I'm pretty sure she would have said that too if it had come to her mind, if she had, I stood up, I'm at home watching remotely online, but it's a live broadcast. I stood up. I'm like, okay, God sees me. I'm not going to, try to deceive the Holy Spirit. I know what He called me to do. At least I have an idea. And I stood up. Okay. And she gave a word. She said, things like, this is the time to step up to your call. It's time for you to, start doing stuff with a call and this and that. Not just for this church, but anything I call you to, and, stuff like that. The one thing that got to me, well, before I get into that, she also called to the drummer in the band at church, because they were still there by their instruments. And she said to the band, drummer, can you give me on a snare drum a march beat? And imagine, you're seeing a period piece movie of Revolutionary War soldiers marching in formation, and there's the snare drum doing that, And that's exactly what this drummer did. And she was talking to the people who were standing up as he was playing this drum. And she said, now march. You're hearing that, right? You hear that, right? March. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, saith the Lord. Get in formation. Okay? Anyway, I'm thinking to myself, yes, okay, yes, Lord, I said, I got it, she delivered this message. But one thing she said the vanguard, anybody who's a vanguard, or part of a vanguard. I said to myself, wait, I know the word, I've heard of it before, but I don't quite remember the definition of it. I said, I'm going to make a note of it. I made a note of it in my thinking. I'm going to go back and listen to that word again, but I'm going to look up the word vanguard again, just to be sure. So let's look up the word, right? I'm going to read some definitions here for you. Because, yeah, it's okay to look at stuff. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are highlighted 8 definitions. So they're not very long. I'll try to go through them quickly, but I do want to, list them, and I want you to hear them. Okay, I'm just Googling it. Define vanguard. That's it. Okay. And I'm just picking the first result from the search list. Okay, from this search engine. Okay, vanguard. Noun. Definition 1. The foremost position in any army or fleet advancing into battle. Definition 2. The foremost or leading position in a trend or movement. Definition 3. Those occupying a foremost position. Definition 4. The troops who march in front of an army. The advance guard, the van. Definition 5. The leading units at the front of an army or fleet. Number 6. The person or persons at the forefront of any group or movement. Number 7. The position of greatest importance or advancement, the leading position in any movement or field. And then number 8, I want you to hear this one really well. Any creative group active in the innovation, and application of new concepts and techniques in a given field, especially in the arts. It's from the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 5th edition. And that's just the first result on a Google search, okay? Okay, so I remember reading in the Holy Bible, I know I saw it in the Old Testament, in the Old Covenant. I want to say it's in the Psalms. Don't hold me to that. I don't remember it, but I do believe it's in the Psalms. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to study it, but I'm just putting this out here right now. I remember reading words that said something like, in the Old Covenant, that the troops would gather in formation of the people of Israel, the troops of Israel, and the dancers would go first, and then the musicians. The musicians go forth first, the dancers go forth first, followed by the musicians, and then the troops. So you hear that, right? Dancing, which is a form of praise when you're dancing before the Lord, to praise and worship Him. That is a form of praise. So dancing before the Lord, music, players of instruments of music, and the singers as well, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if the singers are first. I believe they are before the musicians. So, and then the troops. So, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, the formation would involve dancers at the very front. And it's very similar to what you see today with marching band, right? You'll see the dancers, cheerleaders or the cheer squad, or the majorette dancers, or the flag bearers, who also do tricks and things with the flags. But you'll see the dancers first. Majorette dancers, we refer to them, especially in historically black colleges and university bands, which are awesome. I don't know if you've ever seen them. If you ever get a chance to go online and, go to go to YouTube and look them up. Look up HBCU marching bands or HBCU Battle of the Bands or something like that. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then you'll see these dancers. And the dancers will come forth, and then the musicians. And they typically don't have singers, but sometimes they will sing. Okay? But yeah, this is what I saw in the Word of God. I've seen it many times over the decades. Like I said, I'm almost positive that it's in the book of Psalms. But like I said, don't hold me to that. I just believe that's where it is. Anywho, recently, maybe a couple weeks ago, a week or 2 weeks ago, this was months ago. This dream was months ago. I do a lot of dreaming sometimes. Sometimes I don't have any dreams, and sometimes I'll have many dreams, and they're very, vivid and prophetic, and, and sometimes they're projected dreams from the enemy, or agents of the enemy. That's a whole nother can of worms right there. That's another video. Anywho, I had a dream one time I was going thrift store shopping with my family, some people in my family, my mom, my aunt, my cousins, and which is something I grew up doing, right? I have this appreciation, affinity, and love for going to garage sales and estate sales and thrift stores and the Salvation Army and the resale shops and yada, yada, yada. And the very first thing when I walked through the door, other people walked through the door ahead of me, other people in my family. And I came in through, I don't remember if I came through last. I think there may have been one or two people after me. But the first thing I saw, they walked past me if they were behind me. Because the first thing I saw to my left, right against the wall, as soon as I walked through the door, was a rack of shoes. A small rack, not a big rack. And there were other sections in this particular thrift store that had, yards of shoes, racks and racks of shoes. But this one was right at the door, like this is like the clearance aisle or something. And kind of like the dollar racks over at Target, how you walk in and as soon as you walk in, there's the dollar section where everything's cheap and, Anyway, but this was very small, one little rack that it's about as tall as I am. I'm 5'3", 5'4". And that was it. Maybe, 4, maybe 5 racks, probably 3 or 4. I'm pretty sure it was 3 or 4. But I looked, you always look. You might not be looking for that particularly, but you always look because, when you know how to shop at a thrift store, you look at everything. You don't miss anything. You go through and you look through everything. Anyway, I said, well, they don't normally have shoes my size. I'm a big girl and I got big feet, right? Lo and behold, I see 2 pairs of shoes. And they're both my size. And they're both extremely old and dingy and scuffed. But I looked at them because I could tell right away they were dance shoes. They were shoes for dancing. Or they were shoes that looked like dance shoes. One pair was a pair of ballerina flat slipper type shoes, which I love wearing those. Those are great shoes. Kind of pointed though, not quite as a rounded toe, a little more pointed, maybe like an almond shaped toe. Some of you women who are in fashion know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? If you're a guy and you're not into this, you can ignore those little details, okay? But it was kind of like an almond toe, not real pointy, more like an almond toe, but it was a ballerina flat. Not a Mary Jane either, a ballerina flat, ballerina slipper flat. The other shoe pair was a pair of jazz dance shoes. And they were truly jazz dance shoes. Both of them were white. Both of them were leather. Both of them were very dusty, dingy, and they were both in my size. I said, somebody had both of these shoes. It was from the same place. I said, normally I would not be bothered, except these are my favorite kinds of shoes. And they're both in my size. I, typically never saw shoes in my size. So this is remarkable. And I looked at them. I said, they're going to, need to be detoxed. They're going to have to be, changed. And they're going to have to be detoxed really badly, and probably taken to a shoe cobbler, somebody who can really, go over them, make sure they're good and sturdy, that, the heels are reinforced if necessary, yada, yada, yada. And I said, if the price is right, they're coming home with me. And sure enough, they were. One was $2.50. I think the ballerina flats were $2.50. And the jazz shoes, which were my absolute favorite, were $1.25. I said, okay, they're coming home with me. Less than $5 for 2 pair of leather shoes. I just got to take them somewhere and get them, detoxed, fixed up, cleansed, all of that, and reinforced. And then I woke up. That was dream one. This is a couple of months ago, right? Or at least 2 or 3 months ago. Maybe longer, maybe shorter, but it was some months ago. Second dream, a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week. I dreamed I was at some function. It was very casual, but it had to do with people in my past, classmates. And a classmate that I had a crush on in high school asked me to dance. He came and took my hand, and we danced and danced like never before. Like I've danced with him before, at a school dance and whatever. But this time we were dancing like we were professionally trained dance couple. Like we're doing ballroom, like we're on Dancing with the Stars, right? And he wouldn't go away. I gave him the grace to, okay, you can gracefully exit and I won't look like a fool and you'll be good. You've done your good deed for the day. He wouldn't go. He wouldn't leave. And so we walked down the hall, arm in arm, and he put his arm around me. I put my arm around him, and we danced down the hall, of wherever we were. We were not at school. We were at some place, though, where other classmates were. And I thought that was weird. I wonder why he didn't say a word to me, but he had, this pleasant, smile on his face, and he was wearing a sweater. That much I remember. He had on a sweater, and it was a very nice sweater. It was very, vintage looking. And I said, why is he dancing with me? I'm saying this to myself in the dream. Why is he dancing with me? But okay, whatever. Hey, let's dance, And he also looked much younger than what he would look like now. I think the last time I saw a picture of him was probably 10 years ago. And he looked like he was still 15 years old in the dream. I said, okay, that's different. All right. And then I woke up. So 2 dreams about dancing. And I should give you some background. I have always loved dance. I took, some ballet classes when I was in grade school. When I was in middle school, I was a cheerleader for a while, not long. And in high school, I took about 1.5 years of dance. And my instructor in the first part of my dance classes in high school, she, after a few months of dancing in her class, she pulled me to a side. She said, hey, Kat, I really do believe. Now, she had started professional dance classes, and, we had master classes, and she started a professional troupe, and she herself used to be a professional dancer, and, all of that. She was wonderful. I loved her. Anywho, she pulled me to the side. She said, Kat, I really think that you have a future in dance. I said, really? Because I'm not the tiniest thing in dance class. I'm the big behemoth girl. in dance class. She said, I really do think that, she said, you've got this and you've got that. You got a real sense of something and your balance and your this and that. And she said, all you got to do is drop the weight. Just drop that weight. She said, you do that, I really do believe you could be a dancer professionally. I said, wow, okay. That's heavy. That marked me. That got to me. You know. And at that time, I was really artsy-fartsy in high school, especially high school and college. And so everybody thought I was going to be either a writer or a singer or a pianist or an actor. Because I was into that stuff. I was performing in those areas in high school and also when I was in junior high school, middle school, and also outside of school. I went to music school, and then I had been a published author. Well, not really an author, but more just like, somebody who writes prose and poetry. So everybody thought that I was going to do one of those things. Like every time they found out I did something, like the first thing they found out that I was doing was writing. They're like, you're going to be a writer. I said, oh, I don't know about that. It's something I like to do. But, then, later on they'd find out, oh, wow, she can, play piano really well. You're going to be a concert pianist. No, I don't think so. I like it. It's fun, but no. And then, later on I started singing. They're like, oh, no, you're a vocalist. You're going to be a singer. You're going to go to Hollywood. Da-da-da-da-da. I said, no, I don't think so. And then later on, I started acting. And they said, you are a theater major. You're the theater major. Like, no, I'm not a theater major. And then it would cycle around again. I'd be in an English class and we'd have to, submit some prose or something. And people would say, oh, no, you're the English major. I'm like, well, I'm not a literature major. I'm not an English major. Sorry. Anywho, nobody ever said that about dance for me. I was used to the other stuff, but I wasn't used to the one about dance. Because, you take a look at me and you're thinking, no, not her. So, that one got to me. By that time, I'm like 17. I'm thinking, isn't it too late for me? It's kind of like, even if I dropped the weight, isn't it too late to start training to be a dancer? But this teacher of mine, she was wonderful. I loved her. She said, no, it's not too late for you. And so I remembered that, and I remembered those dreams, and I remembered a couple of other incidents and dreams and what have you concerning dancing. Like one time I dreamed that I had made it to heaven. And when I got to heaven, I was fully dressed in a prima ballerina costume for some major ballet. I was tiny. I had my hair in a perfect bun. And I was wearing a golden, costume. Complete with the tutu and everything else. And jewelry and everything. And I made it to heaven and I didn't see anybody. But I could see something that had been prepared for me. And it was like a hall. Like a memorial chamber or something like that. The only time I've seen anything similar is there's some sort of monument in Washington, D.C. And I walked into this hall. It was beautiful. It was lit. And this was like a welcome home. You made it. You did this, And bravo. And I heard thunderous applause and cheers. And every time I walked into a different room in this structure, everything was decorated and laid out for me. And I would hear thunderous applause when I walked into the room. I didn't see anybody, but I would hear this applause, and I would take my little prima ballerina bow. You know how they do the deep curtsy type of thing, and somebody would throw flowers at me. I'd pick up flowers, like, oh, thank you, you know. And this went on for a very long time. Every room I walked into, a whole new group of people that I couldn't see would break out into thunderous applause, and there were flowers presented, and I would pick up these flowers, and I would do deep curtsies, and it was wonderful to be celebrated. I'm thinking, what did I do? Did I just, was I a dancer? Did I perform as a wonderful dancer, or what? Anyway, I saw that costume that I was in the dream wearing in real life, in a picture online with some black students in a dance class. I don't remember what school. I want to say it was Dance Theater of Harlem. It was not a play. They were actually on tour looking at something, going on a field trip, and they took pictures, and there was a costume in a glass cage. It was stunning. It was on display. It was golden. I said, that is the costume that I was wearing when I went to this memorial hall up in heaven when I had that dream. I didn't think I would ever see it. I thought it was just something my mind made up or something. Clearly, that had some significance. I'd never seen it. I didn't know it existed, And that was not anything I was looking for. But it sure found me. So little things like that started to come to my remembrance, and in fact, the costume thing just came up just now. So, so the people that were addressed today, knowing that in the Old Covenant there are at least one reference to dancers being before. Dancers being the first people you see the dancers. So there could be something to do with calling dancers. And, maybe I'm one of them. Maybe I need to dance again. I've always thought I would love to get back to dancing. It's one of my most enjoyable activities when I was younger. And even when I got older, as much as I could, I would love to go dancing. And I said to myself not long ago, when I was starting to research, where can I take dance classes? Something that would accommodate somebody like me. I'm older now, I'm bigger, I have physical problems, but it would be a great workout, a great exercise. Where could I go that I could easily get to take dance class? And so I think there's something there, since this lady brought out the word vanguard, which you don't typically hear. You don't typically hear that term referred to in a, prophetic word about getting information, calling, it's a call to arms and this and that. Well, not in a church setting, typically. But these are those days, right? So I wanted to bring that out. There might be some of you out there that might be the forefront people, the forerunners. There's a YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken, where the title of the channel is something forerunner, and they look into quite a bit of things in these latter days that have to do with eschatology and time prophecies and teachings and end time events. So There might be something there. I'm not sure exactly what this will get us to, or if it's just something specific to me, but I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. And so I wanted to tell that. I think we're in a season where I need to go ahead and talk about what I am going through and what I have gone through, and good and bad and ugly, and all the points in between. According to how God leads me, obviously. But yeah, I feel like there's a testimony that needs to be told so that it could encourage others, or perhaps inspire others, or caution others, whatever it might be. So I just wanted to bring that out. I really, I don't have all the answers to everything, but what I do know is God made me stand up today. Well, yesterday. But He made me stand up during church service. It wasn't like, I felt like He was going to push me out my chair if I didn't do it. But it didn't take me hardly any effort. And it seemed like the right thing to do. And knowing that I have lately been up all night, I know God called me to have a season of, I call it the 7-Eleven season. Anybody who knows, especially if you're in the United States, if you know anything about the 7-Eleven chain of stores, they're open all night, and I got that prophetic word years ago before I even went to LA, which was, that was late 2005. Before the whole LA thing happened to me, God had been counseling me. I believe it was God counseling me about being up all night. This is your ministry. You're a minister, and your ministry is up all night. It's an all-night thing. I have been resisting that, not just because, I had been working all night for decades and I wanted to switch and not be up all night, but also because of health issues. I didn't know if that was a contributor to my health issues, but I realized, all the times that I stayed up all night, I realized my body kind of got used to it, and I kind of accepted the fact that I had this night watch kind of. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily a guard or anything, but maybe so. I don't know. I know that I intercede. I know that I have been pulling 7-11 hours, and I also remember learning from different people that when you're called to the office of prophet, you got to be available for God 24/7. If I'm not mistaken, you don't have a schedule. You're a prophet. Okay, I just got a few more revelations that I will be praying about before I try to release that. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I finished giving you what I picked up today, because I feel like it's not just for me. And I feel like it's something that's going to help others to focus in and hone in on some things that might be going on with them, and that they can focus in with God about it and bring it to Him and let Him counsel them. So anywho, I'll go ahead and end this video. It's getting a little long, and I'll see if I can upload this to the server. But I love you guys. Let's keep one another in prayer. And until we get together again, Pog, suit up.